On a high limestone ridge near the headwaters of the San Saba River stands Fort McKavett, one of the best preserved frontier army posts in Texas. The site lies about 22 miles southwest of Menard, surrounded by open ranch country and broad views of the western hill country. Its stone barracks, officers' quarters, hospital, headquarters, and ruins preserve the outline of a military community that operated during two separate periods between 1852 and 1883. The United States Army established the post on March 14, 1852. Its original name was Camp San Saba. The first garrison included 5 companies of the 8th United States Infantry under Lieutenant Colonel Thomas Staniford. The location formed part of a chain of army posts intended to protect settlements and travelers moving west toward El Paso and California. By late 1852, the Army had begun calling the installation Camp McKavett, and the name Fort McKavett appeared the following year. It honored Captain Henry McKavett of the 8th Infantry, who had been killed during the Battle of Monterey in the Mexican War in 1846. The first soldiers arrived at a largely undeveloped site. They used local limestone and timber to construct storehouses, quarters, a hospital, and other facilities. Soldiers received extra duty pay and additional rations for their building work. Over time, the structures formed a loose arrangement around a large parade ground, giving Fort McKavett the appearance of a small military village. The parade ground served as the center of post life. Soldiers assembled there for inspection, drill, announcements, and ceremonies. Nearby buildings contained barracks, officers' quarters, workshops, supply rooms, kitchens, and medical facilities. Beyond the main post were stables, a garden, a stone quarry, a lime kiln, and government springs. Daily life followed a demanding routine. Soldiers drilled, maintained equipment, cared for horses, escorted travelers, guarded supply trains, and rode patrols. Construction and repair work occupied much of their time. Supplies arrived by wagon from San Antonio, making shipments of food, clothing, ammunition, tools, and mail essential to the garrison. The Army closed Fort McKavett in March of 1859. Traffic to California had shifted toward a more southerly route, and changes in the frontier defense system reduced the post's immediate value. The soldiers departed and left the buildings vacant. Then, during the Civil War, Fort McKavett briefly returned to military use. In early 1862, it served as a temporary prisoner of war camp for United States troops who had surrendered federal posts in Texas. Confederate and state forces used the location intermittently. By April of 1862, the fort had again been abandoned. When the United States Army returned on April 1, 1868, Captain Eugene Beaumont and Company A of the 4th Cavalry found many buildings damaged or ruined. Some soldiers lived in tents for the next year or two while the post was rebuilt. Colonel Ronald Mackenzie directed much of the reconstruction after arriving in 1869. Soldiers worked alongside carpenters, masons, a blacksmith, a wheelwright, and other specialists. The completed post eventually included 4 barracks, 12 officers' quarters, a headquarters building, a hospital, a guardhouse, bakery, a magazine, storehouses, and other buildings. Fort McKavett became the headquarters of the 24th United States Infantry. During its later period, soldiers from all 4 Buffalo Soldier regiments served at the post: the 9th and 10th Cavalry, and the 24th and 25th Infantry. Units based here patrolled the region, escorted traffic, guarded supply routes, and supported operations across West Texas. The fort also developed into an important supply depot. Wagons brought provisions from San Antonio, and Fort McKavett distributed food and equipment to troops in the field and to other posts. It supported scientific surveys and mapping expeditions. Under the post's surgeon's direction, Army personnel recorded rainfall and temperatures, producing some of the area's earliest systematic weather observations. One of Fort McKavett's best-known anecdotes occurred in 1871 when General William Tecumseh Sherman visited during an inspection tour. After seeing the stone buildings, broad parade grounds, springs, and surrounding landscape, Sherman reportedly called it the prettiest post in Texas. The description has remained associated with the fort ever since. Another unusual visitor arrived in 1876. That would be Elliott Roosevelt, the younger brother of future President Theodore Roosevelt. He spent about a month as a guest at Fort McKavett. The post was still active, although its role was gradually shifting toward supply and administrative duties. By the middle of the 1870s, major military campaigns had moved farther west and north. Fort McKavett continued supplying expeditions and nearby installations for several more years. On June 30, 1883, Captain Hugh Theaker and Company D of the 16th Infantry departed, ending the fort's active Army service. Civilians soon occupied many of the empty buildings. Former barracks and officers' quarters became homes, stores, workshops, and community buildings. A small town developed within and around the old post. Civilian use preserved several structures while others deteriorated or were dismantled. Preservation efforts gained momentum during the 1960s. Fort McKavett became a state historic site in 1968, and restoration continued as additional buildings and land were acquired. The historic district entered the National Register of Historic Places in 1971. The Texas Historical Commission then assumed operations of the site in 2008. Today, Fort McKavett covers about 82 acres and contains restored buildings, stabilized ruins, and archaeological remains. The Visitor Center occupies the 1874 hospital, the parade ground, barracks, officers' quarters, quarry, lime kiln, and government springs allow visitors to explore the workings of an isolated frontier post.